All right, I'm at Clear Creek Trail today at the Silverdale Dog Park or Gateway Park off of Silverdale Way. So hopefully you'll get a chance to come out here and walk along the trail and find the plants that I'm going to show you. Okay, first we can do a review here on our shore pine. This is Pinus contorta in the Pinaceae family. So remember, these needles are twisted or contorted. There's two in a fascicle, and there's a couple of this year's cones that are still green. They haven't turned brown and opened up yet. Hopefully you remember Queen Anne's lace. So the inflorescence is in that umbel shape. And the leaves are highly dissected, compound leaves. So this is Daucus carota in the Apiaceae family. We've also got our Himalayan blackberry, which is Rubus discolor or Rubus armeniacus in the Rosaceae family, with that 5-parted compound leaf, or sometimes just 3. And we've got fruits ripening up, so you can have a snack while you're here. Here is some domestic apple that has escaped and grown here. You can see some apples forming up in the tree. Large apples. So we has that typical apple-shaped ovate leaf, dark, a little bit lighter color with pubescence on the underside. Serrate margin. Alternate leaves. So this is Malus sylvestris in the Rosaceae family. Here is Indian plum. So this is Ommelaria cerasiformis in the Rosaceae family. I don't see any fruits on this particular one, but a small, well, here's some dried up ones. Small, bluish, blackish, usually, fruit. Drupe, like a cherry, but smaller. And normally the leaves start turning yellow on some of these about this time of year, so you'll see lots of yellow leaves. Other than that, the leaves are elliptic, kind of thin feeling, not very thick feeling, kind of, usually the apex is a little bit rounded or maybe with just a slight tip on it. Here's another common weed you'll see. This is our thistle, or not ours, it's introduced Canadian thistle, not a native plant, but will be found growing in grassy areas, weedy areas. It is in the Asteraceae family, so this is a composite head flower, like a dandelion or a sunflower, except it doesn't really have the ray flowers. They're just all disc flowers. Lots of spines on the leaves, as well as the sepals. Well, those are actually involucral bracts down there below the flower head. So this is Circium, C-I-R-C-S-I-U-M, canadensis, C-A-N-A-D-E-N-S-I-S, in the Asteraceae family. Here's a review of Douglas fir. So the needle-like leaves, but not being in 2 lengths, so just pretty much 1 length of needles. There's not a cone handy on this one, but the cone, if you find it, will have those 3-pronged bracts sticking out of the cone scales. This one still has some of the pollen cones remaining. So Pseudotsuga menziesii in the Pinaceae family. There's also some escaped escaped cherry out here. So you see the oval-shaped leaves, serrate margins, and then those glands at the base of the leaf where it connects to the petiole. So that's your giveaway for this genus, the genus Prunus, P-R-U-N-U-S, and this is Prunus Fusca, F-U-S-C-A, the escaped cherry, I think. Here is the beaked hazelnut. So the leaf is similar to the alder, but widest more towards the middle or above the middle, and then narrowing down into the tip there. And a little bit more pubescent than the alder also. So this is Corylus cornuta in the Betulaceae family. I don't see any fruits on this one, but I will keep looking for that beaked hazelnut. Here's a weed that we saw way back on the Bremerton campus. This is the Lathyrus latifolia, one of the native peas, and so you can see that papilionaceous flower with the banner petal, the large petal, and the two wing petals, and then the keel petal folded up in the middle. And then these compound leaves, trifoliate compound leaves with these leaflets. The leaflets kind of appear to have parallel veins, but if you look closely, they do start interconnecting, so they are reticulate or net veined. And then the third leaflet actually becomes the tendril that helps this vine to climb. And also, if you look along the stem, you will also see where wings form along the stem, and it looks like the stem is turning into a leaf. So Lathyrus latifolia in the Fabaceae family. Here's a few of those alder cone-like structures that are the fruit of the alder tree, red alder. So remember, they're not true cones. They come from an ovary, so they're a fruit, but they develop this woody texture and then release the little nutlets, which are the seeds inside. All right, here's a review of one I believe we saw at Poulsbo Fish Park. This is our Nootka rose. So in the Rosaceae family, you can see it has compound leaves, like most roses, pinnately compound. And then this is the rose hip, the fruit that is developing from the flower. These are the sepals where the flower was, and the petals and other parts have fallen out. It would have a typical wild rose type, a flower with 5 petals and 10 stamens. But it is developing its fruit now. So Rosa Nootkana, N-U-T-K-A-N-A, Nootka rose in the Rosaceae. All right, here's our Pacific 9-bark that we saw once before. This is Physocarpus capitatus. It has these about 3-lobed, palmately lobed and palmately veined leaves. And this inflorescence, it's sort of capitate, where it's almost an umbel. All of the pedicels sort of reach up to about the same height. It's gone into fruit now. It's producing its little capsular fruit down there, whereas I think we saw the flowers before. And on the back side of this leaf is the stellate trichomes, or stellate hairs. If you have your hand lens to look at those, you can see how they branch into a star shape in the hairs. So Pacific 9-bark, and the bark has sort of this reddish color you can see in there, or further back on the stem you will find it becomes a peeling type of bark. Let's see. So here you can see that peeling bark on the Pacific 9-bark. Here's one of the willows that we saw at Poulsbo Fish Park. This is the Pacific willow with that dark green glossy surface on the top of the leaf, and then a glaucous bluish whitish waxy surface on the bottom of the leaf. And this very lanceolate shape leaf, very elongate with serrate margins. So this is Salix lucida, L-U-C-I-D-A, in the Salicaceae family. Here's a review of the evening primrose that we saw once before. So remember, this is the flower that has 4 petals, but it's not in the mustard family. It's in the Onagraceae family. So this is Oenothera vulgaris, I think is the right name. Evening primrose. This is Oenothera biennis, evening primrose, in the Onagraceae family. All right, we have some of our western red cedar, Thuya plicata, in the Cupressaceae family. Here's a review of ocean spray, Holodiscus discolor. So you can see those sort of unusual leaves with the lobes at the base and point coming up to the top, and then that panicle type inflorescence, which has gone into its seeds now. All right, here's a new one. This is snowberry, or also called soapberry, I believe. You see this white berry that gives it its name. This is the fruit. Here's leaves are opposite. Not very many things have opposite leaves, and these are small, ovate to nearly rounded kind of leaves, although they can become lobed even. There's a lot of variability in these leaves, so look around at several leaves on the plant to get the sense of their shape. But that white berry is going to be a giveaway, and those opposite leaves, scientific name is Symphoricarpos, Symphoricarpos, albus, A-L-B-U-S. Albus means white, referring to those berries. And the family is the Caprifoliaceae, which we've also had a couple things in, and all of those things have opposite leaves. Here's some of that variation in the leaves of the snowberry. So you can see this one is lobed. It starts to look almost like ocean spray leaves, but not also serrate. These are entire, even though they're lobed. All right, so I'm continuing on down the path that goes down the road, and then we'll take a left off into the wetland area and we'll go through there. Here we've got some horsetail, Equisetum arvense, in the Equisetaceae family. Here's some grand fir, Abies grandis, in the Pinaceae. You can see that very flattened shape to the branch where the needles all come out two-dimensionally rather than three-dimensionally around the branch. You can see the difference in the color in the new growth, which is very light green, and the older growth, darker green. There are several things down this road that are not native plants. They're planted. For example, the Crocosmia over here on the side. So I'm not going to necessarily go over all of those, but just be aware that a lot of the stuff you see, since this is a housing area, residential area where people have planted stuff, may not be natives. Here's a review of our vine maple. So you can see this palmately lobed, about 7 to 9 lobes on the leaves, opposite leaves in this family. And I don't see the fruits on this tree. Oh, here's some. The winged fruit, the samaras, and in the vine maple, the two are attached at 180 degrees directly across from each other, so they form a straight line. So vine maple, Acer circinatum, in the Aceraceae family. And here's a good review of western hemlock. So remember, it's going to look similar to Douglas fir, but when you look a little closely, you can see those two different lengths of needles. So this is Tsuga heterophylla in the Pinaceae family. This is the common morning glory. It's an introduced plant that will grow in some of the weedy areas around here. You can see it's a vine that grows over top of things. Its leaves are cordate shaped, heart shaped. So you can see that at the base of the blade there, coming up to the point. And then the flower has fused petals from this tube that are flaring out. This is called salverform flower shape. So this is Convolvulus, C-O-N-V-O-V-U-L-U-S, Convolvulus arvensis, A-R-V-E-N-S-I-S, in the Convolvulaceae family. Okay, now we have our big leaf maple. So the 5 to 7 lobes, palmately lobed, very large shape of the leaf, opposite leaves. This is Acer macrophyllum, also in the Aceraceae family. Here's one of our other willows. Again, so whitish hairy on the back, green on the top. These are a little bit more wider leaf, and they have the stipules at the base of the petiole on the stem. So either Hooker's willow or Schooler's willow. They get hard to tell apart, and they actually hybridize as well, which makes it even more difficult. But I think this one is Hooker's. When you get down to the next part of the trail, take a left in to the wetland area. Some more wild cherry down here. You can see that bark with the horizontal lenticels forming these lines around the bark. This is cherry, escape cherry. And we've got here our black cottonwood with that triangular deltoid shaped leaf. And usually on the back you will find some brownish hairs, although I'm not seeing very much on this one. So Populus balsamifera in the Salicaceae family. This is our red osier dogwood that we've seen before, Cornus sericea, and you can see that those arching veins, so they don't go straight to the margin, they point up toward the tip, opposite leaves, and there's no flowers on this particular one or fruits. And also these leaves look very large, much larger compared to some that we've seen before. It's probably because it's a bit of a stump sprout. So the tree's been damaged, the main trunk has been damaged, and these have sprouted out from that. And a lot of times on those kinds of sprouts, the leaves of those sprouts will be much larger than average. So that's something you might notice. Also, normally the stem has a reddish color in it, the red osier dogwood, but I'm not seeing that on this particular specimen. But there's variation in plants just like there is in humans. Some people have red hair, blonde hair, brown hair, dark skin, light skin, and plants have variation as well. So this one doesn't have very much of that red coloration. I do see it in just a couple of spots very faintly, but this is red osier dogwood. All right, we've got a review here of our sword fern. Hopefully this is one that you are starting to recognize pretty easily now. This is Polystichum munitum. So once compound fronds, and on the back side, these spores in the brownish color will be found. And the family is the Dryopteridaceae family. And we also have some lady fern. This one is growing quite large in here. Remember, it's going to be twice compound. So each of these pinnae are divided up again into more pinnae. And then down towards the base, the pinnae gets smaller and smaller. That's usually a key characteristic for lady fern. And then on the backs, you will see the dark brown spores of lady fern. So this is Aetherium felix femina in the Dryopteridaceae family. Right, quiz yourself as you're going along through here. There's a lot of things that we've seen before. You've got hopefully several things that you're starting to recognize. So try to name the plants as you're going along. We've got horsetail. We've got Indian plum. Here's salmonberry. It's going to have that butterfly-shaped leaflets at the base of this compound leaf. You probably won't find very many berries left on it at this time of year. And here's spirea. It doesn't have the flowers on this particular one. I'll find them in a minute. But it has that unique kind of leaf where the teeth start about halfway up the middle. So on the bottom, there's no teeth. And then up to the top, the teeth start appearing. So spirea. See what else you can find. Keep naming things and practicing. Here's some of those flowers of spirea, pink flowers in that tight panicle or thyrse inflorescence, that pyramidal shape. All right, as you cross that first boardwalk, I'm gonna take the trail to the right and continue on through the wetland. All right, here's a new one. This is cattails, which you might recognize by those inflorescence. This is a tight spike type of inflorescence. So the flowers are crowded up there in that cattail looking structure. The male flowers are on top, the female flowers on the bottom. And this is in the grass family, or related to the grasses. It's a monocot. You can see those long linear leaves with parallel venation, and it's wind pollinated, so you don't really see petals and pretty flowers, but more like a grass type flower. So this is cattail, Typhus, T-Y-P-H-U-S, latifolia, L-A-T-I-F-O-L-I-A, referring to those flat leaves. And the family is the Typhaceae family, which is closely related to the grass family, the Poaceae. All right, here's another look at that red osier dogwood. This one has the more typical reddish color in the stem, and you can see the fruits developing, those little whitish berries. This is not snowberry, don't get it confused with that. So those dogwood shaped leaves, opposite leaves, although snowberry is also opposite, but smaller and more rounded leaves. Cornus sericea. Right, here's another new one along the side of the trail here. This one is the bittersweet nightshade. So it's in the nightshade family, which is the Solanaceae family, also where potatoes and tomatoes are found. And you can see this leaf here. They vary from having these two lobes at the base of the leaf, sort of being almost compound, or they can just not have the lobes and be a little bit cordate at the base of the leaf, heart-shaped. The flowers are these purple flowers with the yellow, very obvious stamens found in them, 5 purple petals. And some people think the flower looks like a shooting star kind of shape. So you might recognize that. And then the berries are developing. They go from green to turning red as they ripen, but these are poisonous, so don't eat them. Solanum, S-O-L-A-N-U-M, dulcamera, D-U-L-C-A-M-E-R-A, in the Solanaceae family. Okay, I think here's our other willow, the Schooler's willow. This one usually has more of the brown hairs on the bottom of the leaves. So Salix schooleriana, Salicaceae. All right, here is one of our native oaks, native to the West Coast. This is the Oregon oak, or Gary oak, which is Quercus, Q-U-E-R-C-U-S, Garryana, G-A-R-R-Y-A-N-A. And the family is the Fagaceae family, not the Fabaceae. The Fagaceae with a G is the oak family. These would produce a small acorn. I don't see any on it at the moment. I'll look again and try to find it. But you see this lobed leaf, pinnately lobed leaf, alternate on the branch, And this is our Gary oak, or Oregon oak. All right, here is a hawthorn, black hawthorn growing in here. You can see the variability in the leaf shape, sometimes becoming lobed, sometimes just toothed on the margin. And you will find those thorns, true thorns, formed by a stem on the branch, if I can get it to focus. Try here. Oh, there's a good thorn. Nice thorns. So black hawthorn, Crataegus douglasii, in the Rosaceae family. Okay, here's another new one. This is the black twinberry, so named because it forms two berries attached together, and with this red involucral bract underneath the two berries. A little bit hard to see there. It's got these elliptic shaped leaves opposite on the stem, and then that red involucral bract, and the flowers would be there before the berries form. It'd be two flowers together, so a twin flower and twin berry. So the scientific name is Lonicera, so it's related to the honeysuckles, the Lonicera genus, Lonicera, involucrata, involucrata, in the Caprifoliaceae family, which remember has those opposite leaves. Involucrata, Lonicera involucrata, referring to that red involucral bract. All right, here's a good review of our evergreen blackberry. So you see that very divided leaf, and it's forming the blackberry fruits, that purplish stem with prickles. So this is Rubus lacinatus in the Rosaceae family. All right, we have a quick review here of our tall Oregon grape, Mahonia aquifolium in the Berberidacea. So compound leaves, spiny margins, and here you can see another one with more leaflets. That variation that we found on there. Here's a review of the curly dock, Rumex crispus, referring to that crisped margin of the leaf. Looks like it's a potato chip been fried in oil kind of thing. So you can see that. And the fruits, these reddish brown color fruits, are developing up here. Here's another new little weed that you see in some of the grassy areas. This is red clover. We had white clover, which is the more common one, but you will sometimes see this red one. It's really more pink than red, but they call it the red clover. So this is Trifolium pratense, Pratense. It's going to have those trifoliate, compound clover type leaf, and those pinkish reddish flowers. Also see lots of the English plantain, Plantago lanceolata, with the basal leaves, lanceolate shaped leaves, and the spike inflorescence. Here is our red elderberry, Sambucus racemosa, in the Caprifoliaceae family. Compound, opposite leaves, and the leaflets are serrate margins. This one is suffering from wilting, it looks like. It does have one berry left on there, one fruit. All right, merging back up to the paved trail here and continuing on around. Here's a review of our Sitka spruce, Picea sitchensis. So remember, if you touch these needles, they're very stiff and prickly. They're also four-sided. If you feel one needle individually, you can roll it and feel that it's four-sided. It's square in cross-section. And the needles are going to go in three-dimensional all the way around the branches, not flattened the way some of the other evergreens are. So Picea sitchensis, Pinacea. Here's a review of Scotch broom, Cytisus scoparius. It's got the yellow flowers, a few left on it. Yellow papilionaceous pea flowers, and the legume fruits that have split open, releasing seeds and making this plant invasive as it starts to take over more areas. And we've got bracken fern up along here. Bracken fern you're going to usually find in the drier areas, so we're not in the wetland area anymore where a lot of the ferns are, but bracken fern can take the drier areas. Remember, it's 3 to 4 times compound, so this is a very large frond, and you won't see the spores because they're tucked under the rolled margins of the frond. Pteridium aquilinum in the Dinstadtiaceae family. Here's a review of our fireweed, Epilobium angustifolium. So you see the flowers, which are an irregular type of flower, and then the fruit, which is this long capsule, elongated capsule. And this is in the Onagraceae family. You can see some of the older capsules splitting open and releasing their seeds with the plumes on them to help them blow in the wind, like dandelion. Okay, I see one fruit up on this beaked hazelnut. So you can see the sepals extending away from that base, swollen base of the nut. That's why it's called the beaked hazelnut. It's the only one I found so far. All right, here's another new plant, kind of a weedy species, but it's found worldwide. And it's also a very important medicinal plant. This is yarrow. So white flowers. This is a composite, and so it's in the Asteraceae family. This is a head inflorescence, and then it's sort of a corym of heads for that structure. And then you can see the leaf is very feathery looking, very highly divided, highly dissected compound leaf. So yarrow, Achillea, Achillea, millifolium, Millifolium, in the Asteraceae family. And here's a review of the Pearly Everlasting that we saw last time. Similar to yarrow in that it's a head inflorescence, sort of a corym of heads, but the leaves are entire, simple leaves, not the feathery leaves of yarrow. So this is Pearly Everlasting, Anaphyllus margaritacea in the Asteraceae family. And here's a review of foxglove that we saw last time. Digitalis purpurea. So you see those leaves mostly down at the base, and then the tall inflorescence, which has now lost its flowers and is producing the capsule fruits, looking pretty dried out and in sad shape, in the Scrophulariaceae family. All right, coming to the end of the trail and back to the parking lot. I hope you will get out here and get to Clear Creek and learn Clear Creek Trail and learn some of these plants. Keep practicing.